Hey everyone, I haven't just finished. About 2 weeks ago, I finished reading The Wild Silence, which is the follow up to The Salt Path, which has also been reviewed on this channel maybe 3 weeks ago. The Salt Path, for those of you who haven't seen that review, you know what, the blurb on the back of this is pretty much about the Salt Path. So, in 2016, days before they were unjustly evicted from their home, Raynor Winn, the author, and her husband was told her husband Moth was dying. Instead of giving up, they embarked on a life-changing journey, walking the 630 miles southwest coast path, living by their wits, determination, and love of nature. But all journeys must end, and when the couple return to civilization, this is what this book's about, they find that four walls feel like a prison, cutting them off from the sea and sky that sustained them, that had saved Moth's life. So when the chance to rewild an old Cornish farm comes their way, they grasp it, hoping they'll not only reconnect with the natural world, but also find themselves once again on its healing path. And the reviews are pretty good. Heartening and comforting, the nature writing is beautiful, and it is a thrill to read. That's from the Times. Notions of home are poignantly explored. Her evocations of weather, landscape, the sea, and her love for her partner Moth are wonderful. From The Guardian, to follow Raynor Winn on her songline Back to Cornwall is to know how it feels to walk yourself into a land you love and find peace at the end of a journey. Sunday Times, so practically the same as the Times. I don't think this was as good as the Salt Path. Is that a good piece of writing? Yeah, she can write. I don't think she's the best writer I've read, but by a long shot. But she can write. I mean, look, she's written a bestseller, so lots of people think she can write. Maybe I'm just not into nature writing. I don't know. But I actually think it's the case that if somebody can write well, they could write about anything. They could write about a mug of coffee or a pen or nature, and you think, wow, that's really something. I can really picture that. That's really beautiful. I didn't get that with this. To some extent, there is a feeling that this book was written because, obviously it doesn't say it in the book, this book was written because the first one, which I think was better, was so successful that Penguin, the publisher, just said to her, look, you've got to write a follow-up. And so she went and wrote a follow-up. It doesn't grab me. It didn't grab me like the first one. It's readable. I mean, I sat down and I read it, and there's lots of subject matter in there which is quite touching. There's her mother dies. So if you are going to read it, you find that out pretty soon anyway, so I don't spoil much for you. Moth's illness. Moth has a degenerative disease that basically means his brain can't communicate with his body anymore. And that was part of the first story, how he didn't seem to be deteriorating like the doctors all said he would, and actually living in the wild camping. And these guys are in their 50s, so it's not like they're in their 20s wild camping. Seemed to actually make him a lot better, and at the end of it he went and he studied a university degree. So even just speaking about the first book, I'm a bit more enthusiastic than I feel about this book. If I gave the last book, I don't know if I even rated the last book, but if I gave that a 7 out of 10, I'd give this one a 5 out of 10. Now, a 5 doesn't mean it's a bad book. A 5 means it's an average book, and I love books. So that means, if you've got nothing else to read and you're sitting there for an evening and you can read a book in it's only 274 pages, you can read that in a half a day. Read it. It's not bad. Not my favourite book, though, clearly. And it deals with different subject matter because, in the first one, they lose their home. And especially now in the current climate, probably lots of people are going to be losing their home. Thank you, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, the Chancellor of the bloody Exchequer, Kwasi Kwarteng, and this fucking idiot, Liz Truss. God, what is happening to this country? Right. Of course, if you look at, these comic books like The Telegraph, they say the pound has tanked because the markets are scared of Starmer. No, the pound has tanked because we've got a Prime Minister and a Chancellor who seem to understand as much about the economy and seem to have as much sense. Maybe they actually believe the bullshit they're peddling. Maybe it's like people who believe in bizarre religions, or any religion, an atheist might argue. There's a good joke about atheists. But anyway, getting off topic, those fucking morons. So lots of people are probably going to lose their homes. Some people are saying it's because of Remainers. How the hell is that even unfathomable to somebody who's got their brain cells turned on. And brain cells, I use that generously, given that this fucking country voted for Brexit. But anyway, back to the book. Calm down. Right, so, we care about growth, so if you give a shit about growth, get back in the biggest single trading market in the history of mankind. Oh no, we can't do that. No. Retards. Deep breath. Okay. Yeah. I mean, they do go for another walk. They do go for another walk in this book. But you know what? This book is more about they're having some success from the writing of the first book. The first book was very exciting for anybody who loves books. Those people probably want to write as well. And you think, hang on, she was going through this desperate situation. They lost their house, they lost their income, they didn't eat for many days. The husband has a terminal disease, and oh my God, tragedy. But then obviously she's written a bestseller about it. So you think, isn't that wonderful? Now they can't be homeless anymore. They must have some money. And you find out in this, yeah, they did make some money. The book did quite well. There's some old friends that they go on another walking trip on, and they met those old friends in the original book. I say old friends. And they start getting recognised by German tourists because their pictures were all over the newspapers in Germany because of the book she wrote. So reading about that is uplifting. It's heartwarming that things can go right as well as wrong sometimes, because things often go wrong. And I think in life there is a lot of luck. Just because you work hard, just because you're talented, doesn't mean you're ever going to get a reward. And on the flip side of that, just because you're an absolute thieving scumbag, arsehole, liar, piece of shit, I mean, you might even end up in Downing Street like Boris Johnson, but it doesn't mean anything bad's ever going to happen to you. I think the whole concept of karma is bullshit, by the way. If that was the case, then what I just said, how does that happen? I think that's a lot. I'm not saying it's untrue, but I think that's why a lot of people believe in God and believe in religion. I'm not saying I don't believe in God, don't believe in religion, but life is so shit, there must be some kind of divine justice. Things must be happening for some kind of reason. Possibly. Back to the book. If nothing else, then this book does get you talking about a few things, a wide range of topics. So imagine you could say it's thought stimulating, but not as good as the last one. She can write, but not the kind of writer who really grabs me. I tell you what, a writer that really grabbed me, doesn't grab me, I hope not, otherwise it's haunting because she's dead. Sylvia Plath. Oh my God. When I was discussing Sylvia Plath's book, I said, reading Plath, The Bell Jar, not the poems are good as well, but reading The Bell Jar for somebody who's interested in writing is like, or somebody who writes, is like hearing Van Halen for the first time. For somebody who plays guitar, it's just a completely different level. It's like, oh my God, how is this even possible? That's a writer. That's the kind of writer that gets you. Like, whoa, amazing use of words. She's pretty good, but nowhere near that. So I would recommend the book. If somebody picked it up and said, shall I read it? I wouldn't say, oh God, no, don't bother. I'd say, yeah, give it a read. It's okay. But it's okay. It's not great. If you read anything by Raynor Winn, just one book, read the first one, The Salt Path. It's really good. And if you really enjoy it, and if you think, I really like this woman's writing, then read the second one. That's what I'd recommend. I think she's got a third one coming out as well. Just for the hell of it, I might read it. These books are actually, I didn't buy them. I don't pay for them. They're just sitting on the bookshelf because my wife buys loads of books, and I found that by reading other people's books, I read stuff I wouldn't otherwise read, and then the stuff I want to read or listen to, I just listen to it on Audible while I'm doing stuff that doesn't take any brain power, like ironing, or I'm gonna have to get a joke in, or being Prime Minister, but that doesn't apply to all Prime Ministers, of course. Just the last few in the UK. I'm on a bit of a rant today, and I'm trying to do book reviews, so I'm going to quit now. I hope you got something from that. It's 270 pages long. It's pretty good, and yeah. Let me tell you what other people think about it, because I'm obviously not that super excited by this book. So, Stephen Moss, author and naturalist, says, a brilliant, powerful and touching account which will connect with anyone who has triumphed over adversity. Yeah, maybe. Rachel Joyce, author of The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry, a beautiful, luminous and magical piece of writing. Good Housekeeping reviews books. Who'd have thought? Moving, a must read for anyone inspired by The Salt Path. Well, I wouldn't agree with that. Salt Path's much better. BBC Country File. Oh my goodness. Winn's soul-bearing honesty and beautifully remembered, touching conversations will take your breath away. That, yeah, there is an honesty to her writing that is quite nice. It doesn't sound convoluted or, it just sounds real. All right. Observer. Intimate in feel and ambitious in scope, throughout it all, Winn retains her faith in the importance of having an almost visceral connection to the land. Yeah, if you're into that kind of stuff, read the book. I'm going to go now. I've got another one to review.